going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz, Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, and this is your Monday Night Raw review for whatever the hell day it is in April 2014. And guys, you know, I don't even know why I'm doing a review. I mean, clearly, this Raw couldn't have been good. Like, scientifically, I mean, it's YWC 101. It's Wrestling 101, isn't it? There's no scientific way this Raw could have possibly been. There was no Daniel Bryan. I mean, we might as well switch over to an old episode of Impact. There's no Daniel Bryan, which means this show can't be... Wait. The show was good? The show was good. Alright, the show was good. Alright, let's talk about Raw. In all seriousness, Daniel Bryan, it was announced at the very beginning, is off celebrating his honeymoon, his wedding to Brie Bella. We saw some pictures. There's pictures online. There's pictures on Facebook and Twitter and WWE.com and all that sort of thing. And you know what? In all honesty, they just handed the guy the belt on a silver platter. He's got a gorgeous wife on a silver platter. You know what? Nice work if you can get it. Honestly, we start off tonight, obviously, because it is the memorial to the Warrior. We have everybody on the stage in Warrior t-shirts. We have a great video package, which WWE always does, don't they? It was all good, all Warriors moments. And then they do what I think, and I don't want to say I have a favorite thing about funerals, because that's kind of morbid, but the coolest thing that I think they do in shows like this is the 10 tollings of the bell, which I think is always awesome. Even if you don't do a video package, even if nobody comes out, even if you just do the bells and that's it, the 10 tolling of the bells for a passed on wrestler is always a great thing. And not that I'm going to talk about it for the rest of the night, but they did do various packages. Oh, sorry guys, itchy nose as usual. I swear I'm not on crack. My name is not Rob Ford. Itchy nose, sorry. I'm not going to talk about the video packages they did throughout the night. Obviously they did the cage match with Rude, the match, you know, what the fuck is it called? The Ultimate Challenge or whatever it was between him and Hogan when he first won the Intercontinental Championship off Honky Tonk Man. It's all good. You know what? I wasn't watching Warrior back in the day. I understand and I appreciate 100% his accomplishments and his contributions to the wrestling business, and I appreciate them, and thank you, Warrior, for all that you did, but I wasn't... Guys, I wasn't watching at the time, so I don't want to come up here and be fake. You know, the flashbacks are great. They're going to do the Warrior Week on the WWE Network, which I still don't get in Canada, so I can't watch Warrior Week. I can't even, you know, learn. But, speaking of the Intercontinental Championship, we are going to have a tournament for the #1 contendership to the Intercontinental Championship, currently held by Big E, and it's going to be tonight, or we're going to have the first rounds tonight anyways, and that's going to be the theme of the night, which is great. The Usos are also going to get a rematch against Batista and Orton, and I'm sure that will be a straight-up one-on-one match, or sorry, two-on-two match, with absolutely no interference whatsoever, right? Right, of course. I mean, who wants to interfere in a match like that? That's a tag team wrestling classic waiting to happen, isn't it? Anyways, in round 1 of the Intercontinental #1 contendership tournament, we have RVD versus ADR. RVD gets played up a lot by the announcers. They talk about how he's a 6-time former Intercontinental Champion, as well as simultaneously holding the WWE and ECW championships. I always sort of pause when they make this reference, because technically he did. Technically he did hold the WWE Championship and the ECW Championship at the same time, but that's because Paul Heyman handed him an ECW Championship because he won the WWE Championship. So, I guess, you know, he's ECW alumni. If they want to give him the belt, that's fine, but it's not like he won the WWE Championship and then went on to win the ECW Championship. He won one and got handed the other. And, you know, that's just how it goes. A bit slow for both guys in this match. I mean, Alberto Del Rio is not typically slow, and Rob Van Dam's known for being, you know, crazy high-flyer guy, whatever. We get a good spot where RVD's face down on the apron, and Alberto Del Rio gives him a nice kick to the head from behind, and it looks great. Typical RVD offense, and a lot of aggression from Alberto Del Rio. Backstabber gets a near fall for Alberto Del Rio, as does a top rope enziguri, which is always nice from Del Rio. Oh, yes. A little bit of a Superman moment, and RVD gets the win with a 5-star frog splash. Doesn't really hurt my feelings at all. Neither one of these guys was going to win the tournament anyway. I mean, whoever won this was going on to face, well, we'll see, won't we? But ultimately, this match doesn't matter. Let's just, little spoiler for you. We get a replay of last week, the whole Daniel Bryan, Triple H leading to Evolution in the Shield and all that stuff, and it's all good, and Kane is still there, struggling and fighting valiantly to still be relevant, and, of course, failing miserably. Then we see Triple H, Orton, and Batista in the back discussing the Shield, and Orton and Batista basically walk off on him and say, you know, fuck you. The Shield's your problem. Which I laughed about a lot. And then I had a phone call. And then I had a phone call from a certain awesome member of the YWC who shall remain nameless. So I missed Ryback versus Cody Rhodes and Goldust, but the match looked blah from what I could see of it. Apparently Ryback will win, and definitely I do not give a damn. Moving on. Paige versus Alicia Fox, which I also didn't see because of said phone call, but I went back and torrented and rewatched and whatever. It's great. Paige is the new champion. AJ is nowhere to be seen. Here is, you know, the beginning of AJ's punishment for being engaged to Punk. Paige looks great. Paige, you know, is playing... She's playing her, like, sort of crazy, intense character from NXT, but she's playing it with a mix of this, you know, girl that's overwhelmed to be in the big leagues now, takes a lot of punishment, sort of struggles, kind of looks worried, and then sort of comes back and dominates. I love, because she won the championship with the Paige Turner, I thought they were going to put the Scorpion Crosslock on the back burner, but she locks in the Scorpion Crosslock on Alicia Fox, who was never going to win this match, let's be real. But she locks on the Scorpion Crosslock, and the Raw crowd goes nuts. The announcers give it the attention that it deserves, which is great, and it's a phenomenal-looking maneuver, honestly, for a submission for a Divas match, which typically, you know, doesn't always follow the most technical prowess in the world. To have a beautiful submission move like she has in her arsenal happening on the main stage and not just happening on NXT is phenomenal, because recently a lot of podcasts that I listen to, a lot of YouTubers that I've been watching, and me myself, have said the women's wrestling on NXT is phenomenal. The women's wrestling on NXT gets to be phenomenal to the point where it's become a new part of our terminology. It's like, hey, these two girls on Raw are really good. They could have a really good rivalry if we gave them the NXT treatment. That's bizarre, isn't it? We want our main stage characters to be treated like newbies because the newbies are getting more chance to shine in that, you know, in that parameter of the Divas division. So if we're going to get matches like this, if we are eventually going to get Paige versus AJ with some time on a pay-per-view, hopefully Extreme Rules, I'm just saying they're both crazy. Hardcore Rules could work, and, you know, give me a few minutes on my own, because it's AJ and Paige, and you know what, I don't have any shame as far as my fandom for either one of them. Be that as it may, throw Lita in there as the referee. I will never ask you for anything from wrestling ever again. Moving on. Orton and Batista, we show the beatdown that they put on the Usos last week. We then have Orton and Batista versus the Usos in a non-title match this week. The quicker, faster Usos get a quick sort of one-up on them from the start, and that's about it. The Usos are out. They have their typical half-and-half face paint, but it's done in the style of the Warrior. They're wearing Warrior t-shirts. It's all good. It's all fun. They're doing the shaking of the ropes with the paint, with the wild hair. And tribute-wise, it's fantastic. But Batista, eventually, when it gets down to one-on-one, ragdolls one of the Usos. Orton and Batista just go crazy double teaming them until they get jumped by the Shield and they get owned by the Shield. Superman punch for Batista from Roman Reigns, and Batista and Orton retreat. We cut to the back. We see them walking around, pissed off after the match. You know, it's the typical, like, post-match unwrapping of the tape and walking down the hallway all pissed off, whatever. Then you see smiling troll-faced Triple H, I told you so. And, you know, step back into my office, said the spider to the fly, and that's the end of that segment right there. Heyman comes out to introduce Cesaro, but not before gloating about the streak. My client, Brock Lesnar, defeated the streak. My client, Brock Lesnar, defeated the streak. Brock Lesnar, who I am the advocate for, conquered the streak. And then he put pictures up of Taker walking away at WrestleMania, and it's going to make him hated. I don't get this. Because Cesaro's a face. Like, no matter what WWE wants to call him, no matter how WWE wants us to see him, people like Cesaro. They respect what he can do in the ring, and he's a lot of fun to watch. And he's got things that are designed to draw a crowd reaction that people are supposed to enjoy, or at least they're designed to be enjoyed. but they put him with Heyman, who's letting all the Lesnar heat rub off on him and therefore onto Cesaro, and he's pushing him like a heel. The other thing is, and they did this on SmackDown, and I thought it was just a temporary thing, but they're apparently going to go on with it, is Cesaro doesn't have any music anymore. Now, obviously, he's not going to use the Real Americans music anymore. That would be retarded, would it not? But I don't know, he has no music. It makes him look, you know, despite the fact that he's got Paul Heyman at his side talking him up the whole time, it kind of makes you look like a jobber. No music, no video package, no Titantron, no, you know, it is what it is. But Cesaro faces Mark Henry. There's a long test of strength. And there's a cool moment in this match, because if Cesaro had overpowered Mark Henry one-on-one, it wouldn't be realistic. Mark Henry has always been billed as the strongest man in the world. But as he's being pushed back, he puts his feet on the ropes and then onto the second ropes and uses that leverage to overpower Mark Henry. Now, that's believable. You get leverage if you're a strong guy like Cesaro is. Maybe not the strongest man in the world, but, you know, we've seen the shit that he can do. You get a little bit of leverage on your side, then yeah, you can overpower Mark Henry, and it doesn't look like Superman. This is the kind of thing, all kidding aside and all, like, trolling aside, all hate aside, this is the kind of thing that John Cena could really take a chapter out of this book, couldn't he? But after that one test of strength, he just owns him in the corner with elbow after elbow after elbow after uppercut after uppercut after uppercut. Mark Henry gets one clothesline. Or, sorry, he tosses him out of the ring. They go back into the ring. They do the elbow thing. They do the uppercut thing. Henry gets one clothesline on him, which does, in all due respect, put Cesaro on his ass for a second. But then an uppercut to the back of the head and a second rope uppercut regular ways, along with the neutralizer on Mark Henry, gets Cesaro the win and the progression in the Intercontinental Tournament. In this entire thing, Mark Henry, who's at least twice the size of Cesaro, got in one toss and one clothesline. And the rest of the time stood there looking big and getting his ass handed to him. Okay, Mark, back of the line you go. Something about wrestling and the name Mark and just not being relevant. I don't know. I'm just saying. Triple H and Stephanie tell Brad Maddox to tell the Shield that they have a main event match tonight. Maddox says, should I tell them who they're facing? And he says, no, just go. Just tell them they have a match. Alexander Rusev versus, the hell's his name? Woods, the guy that's with R-Truth. It doesn't matter. Xavier Woods, there we go. It shows you how relevant he was in this match. It's squash. R-Truth tries to stand up. Okay, he does a camel clutch type maneuver as his finishing maneuver, and they call it the Accolade. And that's it. And Lana's there, and people think she's the hottest thing since sliced bread. Okay. R-Truth tries to stand up to Rusev, and he gets owned. And it's a squash. It's 2 squashes in less than 5 minutes. There we go. Another tournament match. We have Swagger versus Sheamus, and I could not be paid to give a shit. I really... Oh... Swagger has like a 2-second flurry at the beginning of the match before Sheamus starts pulling his I'm the Irish Cena Superman bit. Owns Swagger for a long ass time till Zeb Coulter distracts him in the corner. Swagger slams Sheamus from the apron to the floor below the ring, which is a really nice looking spot, I will admit. Swagger works the leg a lot. The psychology of that is great. Ramming his leg up against the ring post outside, ramming his leg against the guardrail outside, owns the living hell out of Sheamus's leg more than any other, you know, body part you could think of. Owns Sheamus's leg. What does Sheamus do? Sheamus, who's multiple-time world champion, Sheamus, who has no psychology, who I've called the Ginger John Cena for years and years and years, has had his leg worked on the entire second half of the match, and in some entirely brutal ways, let's be honest, wins with a fucking brogue kick. Fuck off, Sheamus. Moving on. Sandow comes out, and I'm thinking he's going to have a match. They come in kind of in the... I don't know whether it was a cut in Canada, but they come in kind of in the middle of his promo. He says, I'm the most deserving person in the WWE. I deserve it. I deserve all of this. I deserve your respect. I give it to me. I deserve it. And not really talking about anything specific. I thought he might have been talking about a place in the tournament. He didn't really go there. He talked about his Money in the Bank win and how he almost beat John Cena, where it's like, yeah, right, Big Show comes out, and I'm thinking, okay, they're going to have a match, but he just mocks the Big Show, and he looks at me and he says, you know that I'm the future, you know that I'm a future champion, you know that when you look at me, you're looking at greatness, and Big Show knocks him out and walks away. And I put it down in the wrestling realm while I was watching Raw. I was like, this is another useless, let's make Sandow look as illegitimate as possible segment. And that's sad. The Wyatts do the little jump cut and say that they're up next. And then they have a commercial break. And then guess what? The Wyatts are up next. Oh. Wyatt cuts a great promo, and I could not write. I tried to write down as much of this as I could. I could not write as fast as Bray Wyatt was cutting this promo, but I will give you the Cliff Notes. Society is a vile and putrid thing. You all do as you're told. You all see and feel what you're told to see and feel. I am different. I have 1,000 faces and 1,000,000 names. Call me what you want. I have never lied to you. Cena has made a career of lying to you. You should not trust his porcelain smile. He is not a man. He is a beast. But don't worry, kids. All he needs is a little push, because he's on the edge. Abigail is my sword, and I won't slay the beast. I just want to play with him. Fan-fucking-tastic. That is about half of the promo that he actually cut. That's as much as I could write down on the, Doomy Clipboard of Doom, which is, still here, and corny as it is, still a thing. Cena. When he first started the rivalry with Bray Wyatt, I was like, no, he's going to make Bray Wyatt into a joke. And then he actually started legitimately putting him over a little bit, saying he was scared of Bray Wyatt, looking at him as a legitimate threat. And even at WrestleMania, I gave him all the credit in the world, as you saw in my review, of making Bray Wyatt look legit. He threw all that out the window here. He came out here and he says, the one thing he says, Bray Wyatt is like, all John Cena needs is a little push. The first line out of his mouth, as a big fuck you to all the fans, is, oh, don't push me, that's the last thing these people want. And you know what? You're fucking right, Cena. Nobody wants to see you pushed. You've been pushed for 12 fucking years. Does a Why So Serious, mocking the Joker from Batman. There's no monster, there's just me. I just want to be here, I want to have fun, I want to take you out for happy hour. I'm pretty sure if we went for happy hour at some frat party, Rowan could have jokes for days. Harper would probably get drunk and streak around the quad. He mocks Bray Wyatt's pants and his glove and says he's a ladies' man and makes some random Michael Jackson reference. Get a few drinks in him and roll tide roll. And I'm not American. I'm pretty sure roll tide roll is another sports reference, but I really don't know. So I don't know what that means. But, the idea being that these guys are just a bunch of party guys. We'll get them drunk and we'll get them laid and, it'll be a frat party. And then the crux of all the psychosis and all the great psychotic promo work that Bray Wyatt does is this existence of Sister Abigail. So what does John Cena do? He says he found Sister Abigail on MySpace and puts up a photoshopped picture of a woman with Bray Wyatt's face. Then he says, I found Bray Wyatt's mom, and has an old woman with one of the Wyatt's faces. And then he says he's found baby Wyatt, and it's a baby with another photo. And it's just like, oh my god, this is why we didn't want John Cena touching this gimmick. But Bray Wyatt saves this. He really, really does. Very simply, he says, keep joking, keep joking. All you can do when you see a serious threat is make jokes. And that one line just fixes it. Bray Wyatt is fucking amazing. Because it was something that simple to just bring it right back to right there. Cena says, he brags about Mania and, hoo-ha, and Cena says that Bray Wyatt talks too much, and he says that, you know what, you only beat me because of the Wyatt family, and this, that, and the next thing. And think back to WrestleMania, the Wyatt family, it wasn't exactly like they triple-teamed John Cena to death. Like, Bray Wyatt had a good match, and lost, basically in a way that looked like a fluke. Like, were the Wyatt family there? Absolutely they were there, but John Cena attacked them, and that was that. He says, I'm going to be big, I'm going to be tough, I'm going to destroy you in a steel cage, whatever. Bray Wyatt, in his typical maniacal way, he says, I like that, I like that. And it made me think of the first time they were challenged by the Sheild. And he sat there kneeling at the ropes and said, "I want this war! Bring it to me!" And he had the exact same look on his face, smiling like a fucking lunatic at John Cena. And then he says, "John Cena, just remember that we're both playing catch with knives, and what makes you think you're not the one that's gonna get stuck? This is my world, it's mine for the taking." And then he proceeds to sing "He's Got the Whole World in His Hands" with the crowd, which leads me to believe that Husky Harris was the Ferrari, or the army tank with the Ferrari engine. Now, Bray Wyatt is the huge-ass speed bump for the Cena steamroller. Oh yes, it makes me a happy, happy boy. Follow the buzzards. Indeed. Santino and Emma versus Fandango and Layla. Now, the whole Fandango and Layla thing is interesting. Layla hasn't done bugger all in a while, and I like seeing her in the ring, so partnering her up with Fandango gets her back in the ring. Summer Rae being dumped by Fandango keeps her on the main roster in some sort of loose storyline. Either she's going to break off on her own and maybe potentially go after Paige and reiterate their rivalry from NXT, possibly over the title, or we could see a rivalry between her and Layla, which would be great. Or we could see, you know, her going up against AJ, because AJ still has a problem with the Total Divas. It could go a lot of ways, but Summer Rae actually breaking away from the Fandango character and sort of forging out on her own for the first time is great, because when she was introduced to... Okay, anybody that saw her on NXT knows that she's friggin' fantastic. Anybody that only watches the main roster stuff, she was introduced as Fandango's sidekick and absorbed all of that gimmick. So now, it's fantastic. She can go off and do her own thing. Layla, who already has an identity, tarnished as it is, in the WWE, can partner up with Fandango and still somewhat be herself. Everybody wins. Everybody wins. This match went on less than a minute. The girls were fighting. Santino speared Fandango off the apron. Layla pulled Emma off the top rope, and that fall was enough for Layla to get the pin. Whatever. I'm not wanking over Emma the way, like, Pearson and some other people are, so Layla wins. It's all good. Sure. We see, cut to the back to another prime example of Stephanie McMahon being the best heel in the WWE, telling off Kane. Kane is slumped over in an office chair, getting berated by Stephanie McMahon, telling him off like a little bitch, telling him he's a pathetic, weak little shell who hasn't performed as well as they had hoped when they crowned him director of operations. He's not a monster. He's not the big red machine. He's pathetic. And then you see Kane stand up in her face. Obviously, he doesn't do anything because she's got more balls than he does, and he's old, and it's fine. But he stares at the Kane mask. It's in a little glass case on his desk, like a relic from the past. He takes it out. This is, whatever. He's staring at it for this long ass time, and he's having this big ass, like, Abyss Joseph Park struggle with the mask, while the crowd is loud with the "put it on" chant, and then there's a slight "this is awkward" chant because it does drag on a little too long, but he eventually grabs the mask and he says something to the effect of, "Leave Daniel Bryan to me, I'm going to eviscerate him," which is fine because it takes Kane and Daniel Bryan out of the equation and leads me to believe I'm going to get the 3-on-3 match that I want at Extreme Rules. Oh yes, everybody fucking wins. Yeah, oh yeah. Raw after WrestleMania was great, which means the next one's gonna suck, right, guys? Oh, Daniel Bryan's not on Raw tonight, so it's gonna suck tonight, right? Moving on. Barrett versus Ziggler in the last tournament match of the night. Barrett walks all over Ziggler for a long time until Ziggler comes back with a nice dropkick. There's CM Punk chants in this match, which is annoying as fuck. Even I will admit, I want CM Punk to come back. I'm as outraged as the rest of you, or as the rest of anybody who's making these chants, that WWE put Punk in a position where he felt like he had to leave. But this was a good match, so fuck off. They fist fight on the outside for a while. Ziggler eats the post on the outside. After the break, we see Ziggler coming back with a neck breaker and some shots in the corner. Ziggler counters a pump handle slam into a famouser. Top rope X Factor looked A little botchy, I'm not going to lie, but it was still a nice looking spot. The Winds of Change gets a near fall for Barrett, who comes back with a bullhammer and gets the win. We get a recap of the brackets. The semifinals for next week are Cesaro versus RVD, so RVD is going to lose, and Barrett versus Sheamus, which I want to say Sheamus is going to win, unfortunately, or fortunately, because then it means we get to see Sheamus get owned by Cesaro in the finals, and we're going to get, I'm predicting it right now, I will put, I don't know, a shout out to somebody as a wager that we're going to get Cesaro versus Big E Langston Big E at Extreme Rules, because with Lesnar probably going away again for a while, which is dumb, Heyman's going to want to manage a champion, isn't he? And Cesaro's not quite in the world title picture, not yet, as much as I and a bunch of other people would like to see him there. But Cesaro, especially paired with Paul Heyman, will do a lot more for the Intercontinental Championship than Big E is. I'm sorry. So we get the main event where the Shield is facing, we don't know. The Shield comes out, and Alberto Del Rio comes out. And Ryback comes out. 3MB comes out. Jack Swagger comes out. Titus O'Neil comes out. Bad News Barrett comes out. Fandango comes out. Alexander Rusev comes out. And I think that's everybody, because I don't have anything written down for the last match. But it ended up being 11-on-3 regardless. My phone is doing things. Stop it. They own the living hell out of it. The Shield looks boss in this, but they get owned. It's 11-on-3, and they're not John Cena, so they get owned. And then we hear the music that we've all been wanting to hear, or at least I've been wanting to hear for the past couple of weeks. We don't hear Triple H's music. We don't hear, we don't hear It's Time to Play the Game. We don't hear I Walk Alone. We don't hear I Hear Voices in My Head. We hear Evolution is a Mystery, and I smile. And I smile big, because Evolution comes down and owns the living fuck out of the Shield. Let's be real. Batista bombs for everybody. The Batista bomb RKO combination, which I think they're still trying to perfect because it still looks a bit sloppy, but it's still a decent looking move. And then we have Triple H taunting Roman Reigns. He's like, show me how aggressive you are, show me the fight you want to bring me, things to that effect. And then the whole thing is punctuated by Roman Reigns eating one of the dirtiest pedigrees I have seen in a long, long time. It is set in the steel concrete, as some idiots here on YouTube would call it. We're going to get these guys in some kind of match. People are saying War Games. I'm still saying 3-on-3 Elimination Chamber, but seeing as we're already getting Wyatt versus Cena in a steel cage, I'm pretty sure they're not going to bring in two different structures for one B pay-per-view. Guys, I don't care what you say. I don't care if this is the after Raw from Mania. I don't care. Oh, Daniel Bryan wasn't there for one night. Guy's getting married. Fuck off and give him a week. Jesus. This is a phenomenal Raw. That's all I'm saying. Like, you didn't need Daniel Bryan is not the be-all and end-all to wrestling. It's just the same as everything we used to say about John Cena. Just because he's not there for a week doesn't mean the house falls like a house of cards. We didn't have Daniel Bryan, and Raw was fine. Raw was actually pretty fucking spectacular. So, let Bryan have his honeymoon. Let him go make some Bella babies. Let him come back for the pay-per-view. Let him go against Brock Lesnar, for the love of God. I just want to see it so bad. And the only other way I can see them going is another round of Daniel Bryan versus Kane, and I don't want it. Everybody that needed to look good tonight looked good, and everybody that looked bad tonight didn't really suffer for it. So, this is a bomb Raw as far as I'm concerned. But, doesn't matter what I think, matters what you think. So, put your thoughts down in the box below. I've been Spaz, your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation, keep all these conversations going. What did you think of Raw? Don't be a stranger, I'll talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, I'm tagging out. Bye, guys.